morning, and I don't have any inside information. The lady that did it, she got in there. She made it happen.
And he doesn't shy away from opinion.
And I do enjoy drinking cold beer at ballparks. So if that makes me a baseball fan, then I'm a diehard baseball fan.
It's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
And a very good Wednesday evening to you, Jacksonville. It is Hacker After Dark, 1010XL, 92.5 FM with Dylan Denmark. The Hacker Ryan Green with you. Glad you are with us. A Wednesday evening where, well, there's a lot going on in the sports world. No question about that. The Jaguars have announced a rookie minicamp at the end of next week. We have some clarity as to potentially the future of Devin Lloyd here in Jacksonville. We have an unfortunate retirement from a former Florida State quarterback that I want to get to in a moment as well. And we are still recapping the NFL draft and primarily that of the Jacksonville Jaguars. A lot to get into tonight. We're with you till 10 o'clock. Guest lineup looks like this. My buddy Dave Campo, former head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. We will do an NFL draft review, a Jaguar draft review with the head coach coming up here in about 15 or so minutes. We'll go pick by pick and get coach's analysis, including obviously that of the Travis Hunter trade up and selection. Coming up towards, probably about 40 minutes or so, probably right before 9 o'clock, 8:45-ish would be my guess. Chad Forbes at NFL Draft Bites on social media is where you find him. I know. Some of you don't have a high opinion of Chad because I think he rubs people the wrong way with some of his analysis sometimes when it comes to the Jaguars, although they have been the worst organization in football for the last dozen plus years, so maybe he hasn't been wrong all the time. You know, we've had a lot of people on this program. We've had a lot of people on various shows here on 1010XL that have slobbered over the Jaguar draft, that have loved it. A+, this guy's great, that guy's great, and that's all wonderful, right? I did think it would be interesting to get a different perspective, and when I saw Chad at NFL Draft Bites on social media, quite frankly, he hated the Jaguar draft, to put it mildly, was not a fan of the Travis Hunter trade or pick. So I thought it would be interesting. And look, I'm going to go back and forth with him. I will tell you that I disagree with some of the things that he has to say, at least what he said on social media. And I'm not going to let him off the hook. There will be a good back and forth. It will be friendly. Chad's a buddy. But I thought it would be interesting to get a different perspective from a guy who, quite frankly, just was not a fan of the Jaguar draft class. So Chad Forbes at NFL Draft Bites on social media. He will come up in about 40 minutes or so. Later on, John Ledard of the Audibles and Analytics podcast. Also, he does a lot of podcasts. Does a lot of Substacks as well. The Quarterback Read podcast as well. We'll hear from John Ledard, who's covered the draft for years. The Read Optional podcast is actually what it's called, about the Jaguar draft. And we'll look around the rest of the National Football League, teams that did a good job, teams that did a poor job when it came to the 2025 NFL draft. So it's going to be mainly Jaguars tonight, mainly NFL. We'll sprinkle in some NHL updates. We'll sprinkle in some NBA updates. Denmark, you're done with my Orlando Magic thoughts for 6 months. Mercifully, the season is over. I had
That's
about
a lie.
I had about an hour.
Weeks.
Yeah, I'll be mad once the draft comes around and once free agency comes around, at least when it comes to the Magic. Mercifully, it ended for Orlando last night. They were never going to beat Boston, but man, them shooting like 23% from three-point range for the last 3 months of the year. I'm just over seeing miss after miss after miss. Just yuck. I needed a break, but the Magic couldn't hurt me. I went to bed knowing Walter Clayton led Florida to a national championship. I went to bed knowing the Jaguars traded up to take Travis Hunter. So even though I was very, very ticked for about 30 minutes last night, I got it all out, and I'm good now as your Orlando Magic season officially did come to an end one night ago. Every night here on Hacker After Dark, we do kick it off with a big deal of the night and Dylan Denmark. Let's do that right now.
Time now for the big deal of the night.
What's the big deal?
What is the big deal?
No, because it is a big deal.
On Hacker After Dark.
You know, I was thinking about this on the drive in regards to Liam Cohen, but primarily General Manager James Gladstone here in Jacksonville. And I know some of you just are anti-Jaguar. You might be Jaguar fans, but this team has beat you down so much over the years that you essentially find flaw with everything that they do. And I can't fault you for that. They've been horrible for the better part of a dozen plus years. They've been, win-loss-wise, the worst organization in football since the start of 2012, and it's not really close. So I get it if you find flaw, if you're a glass half empty person when it comes to the Jaguars. And with that, I see a lot of people analyzing the draft here, that the Travis Hunter trade, they gave up too much, and they drafted a safety from Tulane, and who are these guys, and yada, yada, yada. All right. But here's my thought when it comes to those of you that think that way regarding General Manager James Gladstone. If you've been anti-Jaguar, glass half empty Jaguar fan that can never do anything right, if you've been that way for a couple of years now, you in particular should be a gigantic James Gladstone fan. Because let's analyze what James Gladstone has done here in 2 months on the job. All right? Trades away Christian Kirk, a contract that a lot of you didn't want at the time back in 2022. Releases Evan Ingram. Some flaw for me on that one, but I know that some of you weren't big fans of the Evan Ingram signing when it happened. He releases Devin Duvernay and Ronald Darby, right? Obviously, they don't re-sign any of their own free agents, save Cole Van Lanen. And now today, they announced the Jaguars do, or at least the reports are out, that they're not going to fifth-year option linebacker Devin Lloyd, who I know many of you refer to as a bust of a first-round pick. So if you've been one of those glass half-empty Jaguar fans about, oh, Christian Kirk, this much money, and Evan Ingram, that much money, and drafting Devin Lloyd and Devin Duvernay and Ronald Darby, I mean, what are we doing here? James Gladstone's gotten rid of all those guys, and Devin Lloyd is now going to become a free agent at the end of 2025. He's shaking it up, man. He is shaking it up. So if you've been glass half empty Jaguar fan, from that standpoint, shouldn't you like James Gladstone? One thing he's proven in 2 months on the job is no one's job is safe. No one. Unless, of course, you're named maybe Trevor Lawrence, Joshua Hines-Allen, Trayvon Walker. But within reason, unless you're at the top of the mountain, Brian Thomas Jr. as well, unless you're at the top of the mountain of the Jaguar roster, your job's not safe. They cut Evan Ingram. They cut Ronald Darby. They cut Devin Duvernay. They did not re-sign Andre Sisco or Brandon Sheriff. They let everybody in free agency walk. They didn't fifth-year option Devin Lloyd. They seemingly drafted some replacements, potentially, for Travis Etienne, potentially drafted a replacement for Ezra Cleveland, potentially drafted a replacement for Antonio Johnson. James Gladstone wanting to raise the floor of the roster. Well, man, he's done that. Major roster turnover, major change on this roster. And even if you don't necessarily like what he's done this offseason, which I do, by the way, if you've been glass half empty Jaguar fan for a couple of years, don't you like that he's getting rid of what was here? Because what was here was the worst organization in football for the better part of the last dozen plus years. And I got news for you. They haven't been very good in the last couple either. They've lost 18 of their last 23 games. James Gladstone shaking it up a little bit, man. So Even if you've been glass half empty Jaguar fan, the Jaguars can do nothing right. You're Randy Quaid from Major League 2. Yeah, you're a Jaguar fan, but you constantly complain and whine about what they're doing. I would think you'd like James Gladstone because he has proven here in a very, very short amount of time that what happened before James Gladstone really doesn't matter. And it's all what's happening now and in the future. That future obviously consists of Travis Hunter. That future consists of the 9 draft picks overall the Jaguars drafted in last week's NFL draft. Emmanuel Ogbah now in the equation. Sunday night, they brought in a third edge rusher. Boy, that's a novel concept. That's one Trent Baalke could never figure out, right? Trent Baalke, who's been in this league for years and years and years, whether it was incompetence, which I don't think it was. I think it maybe was borderline stubbornness. After Arden Key left, he just said, we're not gonna sign an edge. We're going to rely on Yasir Abdullah and Miles Cole and 30-plus-year-old Eric Armstead to spell Hines Allen and Walker. And we're going to go 2 off seasons without giving those guys any help on the edge. Whew, that was horrific. Emmanuel Ogbah's here. They draft Jalen McLeod. All of a sudden, you got a little depth at the edge position. Let's talk about the Jaguar draft class as a whole. Let's talk about the arrival of Emmanuel Ogbah from Miami and all points in between with my buddy Dave Campo. During the regular season, we have a little Monday night coaching with Campo here on Hacker After Dark. We get the coach periodically during the offseason. Let's do a deep dive into the Jaguar draft, pick by pick. Also sprinkle in a little Emmanuel Ogbah talk as well. My buddy, the head coach, Dave Campo, joins me next Wednesday night here in Jacksonville, and we're glad you're with us. Hacker After Dark, 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Fans first.
I was born a Jags fan, and I'm Duval till I die.
Jaguars pride forever.
Duval!
1010XL, home of the Jaguars.
Blue here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor-outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House.
Shopping with your parents can be embarrassing.
Why would they sell jeans with holes in them? I'm going to speak to the manager.
Mom!
That hoodie is giving. You should get it. YOLO.
Thanks to the Chase mobile app, your kid can shop independently while you keep an eye on their spending. So you can go from
We can be twinsies.
to
How was shopping? Saw you stayed on budget.
Thanks, Mom.
freedom for kids, control for parents. That's family banking from Chase.
Account subject to approval. Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank N.A. member FDIC.
Fantastic news here. Due to overwhelming response, Beers Diamonds extending their amazing earring and bracelet sale for Mother's Day. Picking here. So now through Mother's Day, you can still save up to 40% off diamond earrings and diamond tennis bracelets. It's Beers' most ambitious offer ever, and response has been incredible. The corporate-owned big box stores can't touch these prices. Beers, locally owned, man. Say hi to the Lupos when you go over there. The freedom to give you pricing you deserve, highest quality diamond jewelry. Celebrate the mothers in your life with something they'll appreciate for decades to come. They also have special pricing on other Mother Day favorites, including colored gemstones, pearls, pendants, and fashion jewelry. Beards Diamonds, your destination for making this Mother's Day truly special. Don't miss Beards Diamonds' biggest sale ever. Up to 40% off Beards' already beatable value price. Now through Mother's Day at the Town Center. Only locally owned jeweler. It's Beards Diamonds.
Okay, for this Cannons of Jacksonville commercial, we need an idea to really come out with a bang.
Like having a guy shot out of a cannon.
Nah, too messy. In fact, Cannons is known for all your towing needs.
So like my car won't start.
No. Towing products. Cannons does custom welding fabrication and installation of trailer hitches, goosenecks, tow bars, truck racks.
So you might say Cannons is my best shot at finding that inventory in stock?
Boom. You said it.
Visit cannonsofjacks.com.
Here's your 1010XL community calendar of local events and nonprofit groups helping people here at home.
You can help Micah's Place support domestic violence victims by playing in the Par for a Purpose golf tournament June 20th at the stunning Golf Club of Amelia Island. Register at micahsplace.org/golf.
City Rescue Mission provides life-changing support for the homeless. Find ways to get involved at crmjacks.org.
If you could benefit from a grief and loss support group, call Haven Hospice at 279-1677.
You have healing power. Even writing a letter or volunteering can help heal a veteran. Find out more at healvets.org.
The Hometown for Heroes Home Buyers Program helps you get your down payment and closing costs paid. Call to learn more. 574-7180.
You can find out how to share your community event at 1010XL.com.
Join me, Max Fink, as I keep a close eye on everything that happens in Gator Nation.
The Gator Report, polished up by San Jose Collision on the home of the Florida Gators, 1010XL.
Go Gators! Frank Frangie here for Stanley Pools. If you're dreaming of putting in a pool this year, choosing the right company is the most important decision you'll make. I've trusted Stanley Pools to build my pool, renovate my pool, and maintain my pool. Stanley Pools has been the best in the business since 1988, and they're still family-owned. Call them today at 904-269-7277 or find them online at StanleyPoolsFL.com. That's Stanley Pools, a family tradition of fine swimming pools.
If you're tired of weekend projects turning into weekend disasters, you're not alone. Building a fence isn't as easy as it looks. And let's face it, your neighbor still hasn't fixed his lopsided masterpiece. But Superior Fence and Rail makes it easy. Highly trained professionals, top quality materials, and a fence you'll love for years to come. Skip the stress and call the pros today.
When you're on the fence, about the fence, SuperiorFenceandRail.com.
Attention Florida homeowners, for 1 month only. Save big with Renewal by Anderson. Get $300 off every window and $825 off all patio doors. Plus, call now and ask about our brand new Ensemble entry door system. But hurry, this limited time offer won't last. Visit bestwindowsflorida.com today to schedule your free design consultation. That's bestwindowsflorida.com. Renewal by Anderson, your trusted window and door experts. Superior products, exceptional service. License number CGC 1527613.
Spring has sprung, and so have the bugs. It's Hayes Carline and my friends at Kingfish Pest Control offer an exclusive $99 spring special. That's right, your initial pest control service is just $99. And if you call today, they'll include a free one-time mosquito treatment. Kingfish Pest Control is family-owned, 5-star rated with no binding contracts, and 100% satisfaction guarantee. Call them now to book your service. Only at Kingfish Pest Control, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Checkmate Coatings phone line. Hello. Your floor's missing piece.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. The NFL draft in the rearview mirror. The Jacksonville Jaguars make 9 draft picks in total, including the big splash Thursday night, taking Heisman Trophy winner Travis Hunter. How did the Jaguars fare? The Jaguars also do a little thing in pro free agency after the draft. Let's talk about all of it with the head coach, Dave Campo. Always kind enough to join us here on Hacker After Dark. Coach, how we doing?
I'm good. Hey, listen, I enjoyed the draft. It's over. Now it's on to the ball games.
That's what it's all about. It's all about, as they say, going on the grass and seeing what you did. And from a coaching standpoint, a general manager, a scouting standpoint, Coach, is there a sigh of relief today? I mean, all the months of build-up for the draft, it gets done, obviously back to work very, very soon. But what are the emotions, right after the draft, after so much work was put in for the last weeks and months on end?
Well, I'm sure that there's a lot of relief in the coaching staff for sure, because my worst time as an assistant coach was right at the end of the draft when you had to recruit all those undrafted free agents. It was like a wild deal because all those guys, they signed 20 guys or something like that. And, you're going back and forth, you're recruiting, you're the agents and all those things. It's a wild time. And as soon as that's over, you want to just sit down and relax. So I think there's some excitement that we have new players in the room. And if they feel good about the draft, which I do in a lot of ways, everybody has a relief and it's ready to go to work to put a team on the field.
Dave Campo with us here on Hacker After Dark. Now, Coach, you were in studio with me 24 hours after the Travis Hunter selection. You've now had a weekend to think it over. Do you still like the Hunter selection as much as you did last Friday?
Well, there's no question that they got two starters with one guy. Now, how much he starts on one side of the ball or the other, that remains to be seen. But athletically, he's just a fantastic player athletically. As people that listen to you at Hacker After Dark, they heard Kevin Mathis, who played for me as a DB, 9 years in the league, was his coach at Jackson and Colorado on the defensive side of the ball talk. He talked more about his preparation and his willingness to be the best and all of those kind of things. He talked about that even more than his athletic ability. And the athletic ability is there. There's no question about that. The only negative, obviously, really two things with me. One is, number one, size-wise, he's going to have to do a good job in the weight room and with a nutritionist to add a little bit of strength, I think, and just ability to play possibly both ways. He's got to get a little stronger. And the other thing I look at is there's a lot of pressure on him, although it doesn't look like pressure even phases him because, obviously he's got to be the right guy for a second pick in the draft. And he has to be better than the second round pick we lost and the first round pick for next year. So there's a little bit of pressure on him. But overall, I love the pick. I love the determination that he has, and I'm looking forward to that.
It looks like they're going to start him out at wide receiver. He's also going to be in the defensive back mix as well. And I was talking to Leon Searcy on Saturday about this, Coach. He played over 100 snaps a game when more than half of his games were at the University of Colorado, right? Where everybody knows about the elevation in the state of Colorado. That's even more impressive to me in thinking about that. Obviously, he's at sea level now here in Jacksonville. Do you have an opinion on that one way or the other?
Well, that definitely is a factor. I think you get used to it somewhat when you're there, all the time. So that you have to take that into effect. I think what Leon's talking about, which I agree with, if you're coming from Miami and you're going to Colorado to play a game and you're only there for 2 or 3 days, the altitude probably affects you more. But there's no question there is an effect with the altitude on a person's ability to accelerate and do all the things he has to do over a long period of times. But again, I think this kid, whatever he puts his mind to, he does. And that's what I'm counting on him to do.
The head coach, Dave Campo, with us here on Hacker After Dark. All right, Coach, let's go down the draft class. On Friday night, Caleb Ransaw, secondary out of Tulane, was a corner. Looks like he might play safety at the NFL level. And then Wyatt Milam from West Virginia, the Big 12 Offensive Lineman of the Year. By all indications, you want to talk about just a fierce bully, if you will, a guy that takes pride in protecting his quarterback. That's why I admire him. I can't find anybody to say a negative thing about him in West Virginia. We talked to his high school coach earlier. Absolutely just a rugged, tough, physical offensive lineman. And I love what Milam said to the Jacksonville media moments after being drafted on Friday, essentially saying, and I'm paraphrasing here, that he's not going to let anybody touch Trevor Lawrence. You love to hear that from a rookie O-lineman.
Yeah, I love that. I love that comment. And I think that, what they're looking for, he's our starting left guard, in my opinion. Now, again, that's tough on a rookie, but at the same time, there've been a lot of them do it. And, he's got pro thickness. He's got really strong hands. His pad level is excellent. He recognizes he's a smart guy. And more than anything else, he's an anchor point. I think his foot quickness laterally and some of that kind of stuff probably hurts him as a tackle. But as a guard, he's got everything that you're looking for there. He is tough, physical, and he loves to play the game. So I'm excited about that pick. I don't think there's any question that's a quality pick. And I had him pretty darn high in my evaluation going into the draft. I also like Ransaw because Ransaw's got their kind of traits. He's a guy that's played all over. He plays with an NFL flair to him. Watching him, he's going to transfer to safety, in my opinion. Although he has played nickel, but he's not a nifty cover guy if you're going to play any man coverage in there at the nickel position. But as a big nickel, he's got all of the physical tools to handle it. Plus, he runs 4.33. So if I was looking at him, I would look at him a little bit like Darren Woodson, the kid that I got to Dallas, who played for 10 years. He was a weak side linebacker, which is a big nickel, in my opinion. We moved him to safety, and the guy ran 4.38, something like that. Woodson, this kid runs the same. He's a perfect fit in my mind, developmentally, for a too-high safety, a guy that's going to do a little bit of covering, but at the same time is a supporter.
Yeah, Ransaw had a good Senior Bowl, good draft process, obviously moved up the boards, and the Jaguars took him with the 88th pick. We talk about Milam, the 89th pick. Look, Coach, last year Liam Cohen had Bucky Irving in Tampa, and we all know the success Bucky Irving had in Liam Cohen's offense for his rookie year. Can lightning strike twice? Well, the Jaguars took 2 at-bats at it, getting 2 running backs. Obviously, Bashal Tootin out of Virginia Tech, and then later on in the 7th round, LaQuint Allen out of Syracuse. All indications are Tootin, one of the fastest running backs in this draft class, was a transfer, was successful at the lower collegiate level, was a successful running back also at Virginia Tech. Your thoughts on both running backs the Jaguars drafted?
Well, let me start by saying that I am very happy with their first 4 picks. And I think that that's really, Bashal Tootin was in that group in the 4th round. Speed kills. This guy's an explosive athlete. He's compact, but he's got elite speed. And he's got a little bit of wiggle power. He's tough, but he's a scrappy blocker. So, they got a good one there, in my opinion. And he is a little bit like what you're talking about with Irving. I think vision at times is a little bit of a deal with him. But as far as ability to accelerate and make big plays, he's big play capable for sure. Now, the other guy from Syracuse, LaQuint Allen, he doesn't have – a 7th round pick, you're looking at traits. And the thing that sticks out with him is catching the ball out of the backfield and, more importantly, protection. He's a really good pass protector in the backfield. And, that's his strength, and a good special teams guy. So, he lacks a little bit of burst and overall speed, but I think it's a good pick in the 7th round because he gives you a possibility as a third down back. So they're two different backs, in my opinion. The one guy's a great runner and has some other traits. This kid, Allen, might be a third down type back.
Final moments with the head coach, Dave Campo. Coach, the defensive side of the ball is your specialty. Jacksonville really attacked that in the middle portion of this draft. Jack Kaiser's a linebacker from Notre Dame. Now he's 25, which is interesting. And I think if any Jaguar fans had questions about the draft, maybe the Jack Kaiser pick in round 4, I think that's going to be interesting because if you put Kaiser in that linebacker room with Ventrell Miller, with presumably Chad Muma, with Foye Oluokun and Devin Lloyd, what does that necessarily mean for, I guess, Lloyd and Muma would be the big two questions there. And then Jalen McLeod, 8 sacks last year in the SEC at Auburn. Looks like he's going to be one of the edge guys to give Hines Allen and Walker some rest a little bit. I like that pick, and people out there at Auburn rave about him.
Yeah, well, first of all, with Kaiser, I'm a little surprised at that pick, to be honest with you. I think the one thing they loved about him was his discipline. He is a good recognizer of blocks. He gets downhill. He's just a kind of a solid linebacker guy. He's a good tackler. He's instinctive in coverage. That's one of the things that stuck out to me. And he's an excellent special teams guy. But he's not a super athlete, and pursuit speed is not his strength. So he is they're strictly looking at him as a middle linebacker possibility going down. That one a little surprised me a little bit. McLeod, on the other hand, now is a big-time playmaker. When you look at what he did at Auburn now, 8 sacks, and over his 2-year period, he had like 13 and a half sacks and 25 tackles for loss. This guy is really a dynamo pass rusher. People have talked about he's really similar to Landry, an explosive linebacker type guy. Not great off the ball, but on the ball, I think he's what you would call a developmental pass rusher. And in the 6th round, I think that's an excellent pick. He's smaller than Landry, but he has the ability to do some good things.
Now, he's going to be on the edge, and a lot of Jaguar fans after the draft were like, wait a minute, why didn't we do more to help out affecting the opposing quarterback? And then last night, Emmanuel Ogbah signs a free agent contract here in Jacksonville, 1 year, reported $5 million, coming off a 5-sack season in Miami where he started, I believe, 16 games for the Dolphins. He will not have to be a starter here. Finally, we have a general manager coach that goes out and gets a third edge, a veteran to help Hines Allen and Walker. So now all of a sudden you got Hines Allen, Walker, Ogbah, McLeod potentially, and we'll see about Miles Cole. There is actually some depth now at that edge position.
Absolutely. I think that was a smart move on their part. I think they had that in their back pocket right along, going into the draft, that they didn't feel like they had to necessarily reach for a guy, to get McLeod in the 6th round. I think that's a steal, in my opinion. We'll find out, because I felt good about Abdullah too when he came in. So that's going to be an interesting one. But Emmanuel Ogbah now, this guy is a little bit like Calais Campbell. He's 31 years old, been in the league a long time, and very productive still last year with the Dolphins. So I like that pick right there. I think those two, I think they'll look at Emmanuel Ogbah as the guy that comes in right now as a third pass rusher, and look at McLeod as a developmental pass rusher. That combination sounds pretty good to me.
Coach, final question. If you're a Jaguar fan listening tonight, are you happy with the draft? Should you be happy with the draft? What's your message to them?
I think we should be really happy. I think that it really showed. First of all, it showed that the administration is willing to take a chance and pull a trigger to go up and get Hunter. which I thought, again, for a general manager, first year, young guy like Gladstone, I thought that was a great picture that they are not going to flinch. They're going to do whatever it takes to get this thing going. They went with guys that they really like themselves. I like that part of it. I think the proof in the pudding is they must like what they have in the interior defensive line and the corners. They're going to go with what they have in the room, it looks like, unless there is some, another free agent move in there. So that's going to be interesting to see. But overall for the draft, I think I'm excited about the first four. I'm really excited about McLeod. I think he's going to be a special guy before it's all over. And then, we didn't even talk about Ruan Lane, the safety from Navy, too much. But he's a baller, smart guy that might be a free safety down the road, especially depth-wise.
The head coach, Dave Campo. Coach, really appreciate you coming in studio with us on Friday. Thank you for joining us here on the following Monday to recap the draft. We always appreciate you, my friend.
No problem. Let's get on to the off-season program and on to training camp and see what happens.
There you go. The head coach, Dave Campo, with us here on Hacker After Dark. Always appreciate the head coach stopping by. And look, I mean, you hear him. He likes the draft. I've had a lot of guys on that have liked the draft, right? I think the Jaguars, from a national perspective, most people like what they did. They like the Travis Hunter selection, all right? There are some national folks that don't. I'm going to get a couple of those guys on in the coming days just to get a different perspective, right? It could be all sunshine and rainbows all the time, but all opinions are welcome, particularly if I have a relationship with somebody that doesn't like the draft. I'm curious as to why they don't like the Jaguar draft. And one said guy is my buddy Chad Forbes at NFL Draft Bites. If you follow him on social media, and he loves it, by the way, there's no ill will, but I know what some of you think of him on social media because he has been very critical of the Jaguars at times. He's also praised the Jaguars quite a bit as well. But this is one of those times where he's very critical. He did not like the Jaguar draft. He did not like Travis Hunter and that trade and everything that went with that. And he was very critical of James Gladstone. I believe he said something along the lines, Denmark, and I'm paraphrasing here, that Liam Cohen better be able to coach because at this rate, the GM won't be here any longer than 18 months. All right. So he was very critical of Gladstone's first draft. Why was he so critical? Why did he not like the Travis Hunter trade? And if he says anything that I disagree with, and I would imagine that he will, I'm going to have a nice, subtle conversation with Chad about that. A little back and forth is never a bad thing. So let's talk to a guy that's going to give us a different perspective. A guy that did not like the Jaguar draft. Chad Forbes at NFL Draft Bites joins us next on a Wednesday night here in Northeast Florida. We're glad you're with us. Hacker After Dark till 10 o'clock right here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM.
Turn on the radio.
In your car, 92.5 FM and 1010 AM.
Would you like to drive for a while?
In your house, at the beach, on your phone, at the gym, on vacation, out of town.
Well, everyone knows that.
Download our free 1010XL app for all smart devices.
Hey, Hicken here. I couldn't be any happier than to join the George Moore Chevrolet family. When I say family, I mean it. Visit their beautiful showroom today off Atlantic Boulevard. Find out exactly what I'm talking about. No pressure, just friendly help. And whether you want a car, a truck, SUV, electric, pre-owned, you name it, George Moore Chevrolet has it. And if you can't make it over to Atlantic Boulevard, no problem. MooreChevy.com is easy to navigate as any site you will try. It's never been more easy to use. George Moore Chevrolet. Together, let's drive.
I'm Liz Gruby, the Jacksonville Business Journal's events director, and on May 15th, we're shining a spotlight on young professionals who are boldly leading the way in business and making our major impact in our community. I'd love for you to join us for our 40 Under 40 Awards as we celebrate these up-and-comers and their achievements. Don't miss this inspiring afternoon of networking and celebration. Tickets are going fast. You have to get them before May 6th. And for more information and tickets, visit jbjevents.com.
It's Work Zone Awareness Week, Florida. Every year, lives are lost in work zones because of speeding and distractions. When you see orange cones, remember, slow down, follow the signs, and stay focused. Workers are counting on you to get home safely, and so are their families. Let's work together to prevent crashes and save lives. A safety reminder from the Florida Department of Transportation. Slow your roll. Safety's the goal.
Do you know someone looking for a fun and rewarding summer job? Join the YMCA team, gain valuable experience, and make a difference in kids' lives. Turn your passion for this community into a fulfilling career at the First Coast YMCA. Now hiring camp counselors, lifeguards, childcare leaders, and membership experience team. Every single person on the dedicated YMCA staff plays a role in making the Y a welcoming and vital resource for our community. Find your career at the Y at fcymca.org.
Equal opportunity employer.
From the driving range to the 18th green, it's Brunch with the Tour.
Well done. You've got to be kidding.
Tour news, tips, and inside info brought to you by
Clearwater Irrigation, 8:30 Tuesday morning on 1010XL.
John Haney here for Clearwater. And I know I'm always joking around, but this is a serious time for our coach and our team. So if you need a sprinkler system, a French drain, or seamless gutters, and you live in Duval County, then give us a call today.
Clearwater Irrigation. We can't sing a lick, but we sure are good at sprinklers. And drainage too.
Duval.
ClearwaterJax.com.
AA Automotive helps keep your vehicle in dependable and safe condition. Call Sam, Harry, or Joe, and they'll check your brakes, tires, fluids, electric, and motor, so your ride runs smooth on the road. That's AA Automotive on Richard Street.
Ackerman Cancer Center, celebrating 10 years of excellence in cancer screening, diagnosis, and treatment. Always accepting new patients and 99% of all insurances. Call now to schedule a new consultation within 48 hours. Learn more at ackermancancercenter.com.
The Sawgrass Marriott Golf Resort and Spa is the perfect place for indulging in a pampering spa treatment. This Mother's Day season, give the gift of wellness with a gift card and take advantage of the spa's current promotion. Buy a $75 gift card or more and guests get a credit towards a future service. With healing massages, revitalizing facial treatments, and more, a day at the Sawgrass Spa makes a perfect gift for everyone. Purchase in person at Sawgrass Spa during operating hours.
The aroma, flavor, the bliss. Nothing matches a great cigar, and now you can indulge yourself with My Father's Cigars. Come to Tobacco Cove on Saturday, May 3rd from 1 to 4 p.m. for an incredible cigar event featuring food, drinks, and specials on cigars. This is your chance to embrace the joy of My Father's Cigars at Tobacco Cove on Bay Meadows Road. More than a cigar store, it's an experience.
Want a simple way to boost your company's image without a big renovation? A fresh paint job in your brand's colors can increase recognition up to 80%. At Performance Painting, we help companies stand out with clean, on-brand finishes that impress clients and energize employees. From color consultations to low-odor coatings that won't disrupt operations, we've got you covered. Visit performance-painting.com to schedule a friendly estimate. Performance Painting. Prepare, protect, preserve.
Performance Painting.
St. Johns County parents, does your kid have energy to burn? Want them to play a sport for their middle school? Sign up today for the St. John's Middle School Athletic Association. Tackle football, dance, and cheerleading. Who doesn't want their kid to be the next NFL quarterback or dance floor diva? You know how fast your kid can go from playing Xbox to practicing their touchdown dance or sideline cheer? Visit sjmsaa.org. sjmsaa.org.
Leon Cersei here. Let's be real. I used to eat like a lineman because I was one. And man, those habits are hard to break. I needed help to stop with the munchies and lose weight. But now, I'm bringing sexy back. I call Physician Guided Weight Loss. Their medical team is helping me shed pounds safely with a custom plan to help me slim down. And their firm pricing means same price every month. Hey, you want to bring sexy back? Visit Physician Guided Weight Loss at pgweightloss.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Checkmate Coatings phone line. Hello. Your floor's missing piece.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. The NFL draft in the rearview mirror. 9 draft picks for the Jacksonville Jaguars, including the big trade up in the first round to take Travis Hunter. Now, most people, I say most, have really liked what the Jaguars did. A couple have really not liked what the Jaguars did. And with that, let me bring in my buddy Chad Forbes at NFL Draft Bites on social media. Chad always speaks his mind, and we always enjoy having him here on 1010XL. Chad, how we doing, man?
Well, after an off season of not taking much risk and patchworking a roster they clearly weren't very high on, this new regime took a ton of risks, trading up, giving away a first-round pick next year for Travis Hunter. And as you mentioned, don't love the move.
Yeah, you know, you've been very critical on social media, and you've caught some of the attention of Jaguar fans on Twitter, which you have tended to do from time to time over the last several years. First and foremost, why did you not like the trade-up for Travis Hunter?
The idea that this new regime knows the roster well enough to say that we're one player away, let's go up and get Travis Hunter, is crazy. And maybe they just think the last season an aberration. You know, they had the 2 9-8 seasons and the previous 2 prior to 2024. But what is Travis Hunter? You bring him in, and it's like, okay, you're giving away next year's first-round pick, which if things don't go right could be the top 10, top 5. You also gave away the second-round premium pick this year. And to me, it's just taking unnecessary risk at the wrong time.
All right, now let me ask you this, just devil's advocate. If I were to tell you before the draft that you could have Mason Graham and Quinshon Judkins, or you can have Travis Hunter, who would you have chosen?
How about Mason Graham, Luther Burden, and Zaria Thomas?
Okay, so you wanted the Jaguars to trade back.
No, I'm saying you take Mason Graham at 5 or Armand Membu.
Yeah.
The second round, you could have taken Luther Burden. And in the third round, right ahead of the Jets, you could have taken the 20-year-old cornerback from Florida State. How does that look in contrast to going up to get Travis Hunter? And the two things that I compare it to, just for historical references, this idea that the Rams, said, screw the picks, we're going to trade, all these guys for veteran players like they did for Jalen Ramsey. This was after their window is pretty firmly open, right? They put their scouting staff in space. They understood their process and said, we're so damn good at this, we can nail 6th-round picks, right? They love their scouts. This is another thing with the Falcons. When they went up to get Julio Jones in 2014, that was year 4 of the Thomas Dimitroff regime, right? They knew they needed a wide receiver. They built the roster through 3 drafts. So I think just coming in this first year and saying Travis Hunter is the piece we need to get us from being, a 5-win team to being a contender is just ludicrous.
Chad Forbes at NFL Draft Bites on social media. The interesting thing about the trade, Chad, is most of the hay is in the barn with the exception of the first-round pick. Cleveland ended up with Mason Graham, Quinshon Judkins, and Dylan Sampson, and that first-round pick next year. Jacksonville ended up with Travis Hunter, the Tootin kid, the running back from Virginia Tech, and Lane, the safety from Navy. I agree with you. If Jacksonville is bad in 25 and that pick is a top 10 or dare I say a top 5 pick next year, well, then the trade looks awful. If Jacksonville's good and that pick is in the high teens or early to mid-20s, I all of a sudden at that point think it doesn't look as good for Cleveland. Would you agree with that?
Oh, certainly. And then, you go to what you're saying about Tootin and the other picks they got in that deal. I mean, I call Tootin Mr. Fumbles, right? He's got a lot of speed, but he fumbles the ball. And I've never liked these track star running backs, right? I like more guys that are a little bit more physical. The Navy safety, obviously, he's a great kid, from a service academy, but don't really think he can run. The Wyatt Millen pick I liked. And if you want to give some credit to the current regime, that trade pack with Detroit, I would have liked to have seen them take the corner there, as I mentioned, Thomas, a local guy from Florida State. But getting the 2 third-round picks next year at least helps offset the fact that they won't have that first-round pick.
Yeah, 4 day 2 picks next year. Jacksonville has 1 second, now 3 third-round picks in 2026. All right, from a positive standpoint, I think it's a positive standpoint, let me ask you. The idea of Brian Thomas Jr. on one side, Travis Hunter on the other, with mixing in De'Ami Brown, Britton Strange, Parker Washington, and, of course, Trevor Lawrence. I mean, what is your thought on that dynamic of this trade?
Right. It certainly gives the offense an identity. And I think the past few years, the Jaguars have been asking Trevor Lawrence to kind of play hero ball, the way maybe they do Josh Allen in Buffalo or Mahomes at times in Kansas City. And what I really hoped would come with this new regime and what they were doing, building the offensive line with some of these more physical at the point run blockers, was that they would really emphasize the run game over asking Trevor to throw the ball, 40 to 45 times a game. So I look at an alternative reality where I say we could have gotten Ashton Genty at 5, held on to our first-round pick, and I just think that would have been what gives the offense a little bit more semblance of balance. I have some doubts that Travis Hunter can play both ways. I think he's more of actually a better wide receiver prospect than a corner at this point. So sure, yeah, it gives you identity. It's really cool if, you're going to want to play Madden with the Jaguars, right? But I loved the idea that Liam Cohen's going to come in and bring this kind of diverse run attack, and I would love to have seen Ashton Genty dropped in there 5th overall.
Couple more for Chad Forbes at NFL Draft Bites on social media. Travis Hunter's going to start at wide receiver. I think, Chad, that's the plan right now. And look, I hear all these people talking about, well, he can't play every snap on offense and defense. And I agree, he can't. But how many players do that? I mean, if he plays 30 snaps on offense, 35 snaps on offense, you mix him in 10, 15, maybe 20 snaps on defense, that's where I think it ultimately will land. I don't think he's going to be a full-time starting corner. I think he might end up in the nickel or the dime package, but I do think both sides of the ball, and I do think he's going to play, 50, 60 snaps a game. But I agree, he's not going to play every snap of the game. Again, who does that really in the National Football League?
Right, and so if you look at him as a wide receiver, right, compared to previous prospects we've seen over the last few years, is he on the level of a Malik Neighbors or Marvin Harrison Jr. from last year? I don't think so as a wide receiver. He's certainly the best wide receiver prospect I've ever seen is Calvin Johnson. He's not on that level, right? So you're talking about a good wide receiver prospect, not a transcendent guy, right? And then a dime defender that you just gave up the 5th-round pick, the 36th pick, next year's first to go get.
It's an interesting point. It's certainly a counterpoint because I know a lot of people are very high on that. Why do you think, at least in the people that I've talked to, quite frankly, you're kind of an outlier? Why do you think so many people like what the Jaguars did?
People love bold, right? It's a good story. And at least locally for you guys, the idea, ownership must love that, the Jaguars are a national conversation. I'm not saying Travis Hunter isn't a good player. I'm just saying it's not where the value met kind of what they gave up to go get him at this point of their build. Maybe I've been wrong before. But, if I'm going up to get a guy that's going to be primarily a wide receiver and then, mixed in 20 snaps per game on defense, I want like Calvin Johnson.
Of the other draft picks, Ransom, Milam, we talked about Tootin, Lane, wherever you want to go, Jalen McLeod. Was there a draft pick that you liked more than most for Jacksonville?
Yeah, Milam just shouldn't have been there when he was. And teams have gotten really locked in on this idea that guys have to work out really well for the offensive linemen. You see the Cowboys kind of said, no, that's not right with Tyler Booker at 12. And I think the way the Jags said that with Milam, he's a really good player, a lot of experience at West Virginia. He'll kick inside the guard, but he's also got some versatility to play tackle. I love that pick. The Tulane guy's really interesting. He's fast and he can hit. And then day 3, I didn't love Tootin, and I couldn't get there on Lane, the safety from Navy. Jonah Monheim, I don't really think he's a guy that makes your roster. So I kind of look at those day 3 picks, and you're trying to say, does this going to look like what the Rams have been doing on day 3? And I just didn't see it with a lot of these guys.
Last Jaguar question, then I want to end with kind of a look around the league. Devin Lloyd, it appears the 5th-year option will not be picked up by the Jaguars. Your thoughts there? I guess Devin Lloyd now has a lot to play for, at least in 2025, because he's now scheduled to become an unrestricted free agent next March.
Right, and that's why I never thought they were really in on Jalen Walker. He's kind of like a similar skill set, and you look at them athletically, they're actually quite similar. I could see Devin Lloyd getting moved. They picked up 2 linebackers in the draft. Maybe a team like the Rams where they've got a relationship, they could use an inside linebacker. But clearly he's not going to be a guy that's going to be extended long term.
Final moments, Chad Forbes at NFL Draft Bites on social media. Let's talk positive and negative. What team or teams, Chad, did you think did the best job in the draft this past weekend?
The Texans had a really nice draft, building out that wide receiver room and also getting offensive tackle addressed. It's tough to say because you like some picks and you don't like some others. The Bears are really interesting. It's going to be tough to fit all that personnel in, even if they went best player available. And then, the Titans did well. They got some wide receivers. The Cam Ward didn't reach on guys day 2. And I think the team that probably did the best is, again, the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, it seems like every year the Eagles and the Ravens are just the two teams that seem to draft unbelievably well. Obviously, you did not like the Jaguars draft. What other teams did you think did not have a good weekend last weekend?
I thought the Jets kind of lost a little bit of focus on day 3 with some of their picks. I thought they had nailed it the first 3 days. The Colts, I don't really see it with Tyler Warren as much as, some do. I don't see how they're going to make use of him in that offense. They had enough weapons last year and they couldn't seem to get it done. And then the Bears, I mentioned them, right? After last year, they take a doomsday so early. They've got DJ Moore under contract. They go out and pick up a tight end and a wide receiver, which are going to make it hard to mix those personnel groupings. And frankly, the quarterback's a big question mark there. And then the kind of another team that I thought the Patriots, by the way, had a fantastic draft, but nobody will give them any credit nationally because it's just like they're in such the early stages of a rebuild. And the Raiders are getting a lot of credit. I didn't love what they did. I thought they kept moving down the board. I liked Genzies, of course, but I thought Jack Betch in the second round felt like a reach, and they just kept feeling like they were reaching. The same story with the Broncos.
Final moments, Chad Forbes at NFL Draft Bites. Chad, I saw you gave grades to the offseason for all the NFL teams. Admittedly, you were very high on what Jacksonville did prior to the draft. I think you had an A before the draft. I think you ultimately ended up with a C for the Jaguars offseason grade. At the end of the day, you take free agency, the draft, the new coaching staff, the new GM, everything. Are the Jaguars better now than they were when the season ended in early January?
Yeah, they're certainly better on the offensive line. They didn't really address the defensive line until Emmanuel Ogbah. That kind of concerns me. I just thought they really shifted philosophy-wise when the draft came and got really aggressive when it wasn't necessary. I love the idea of creep back towards average on the offensive line, fix some issues in the secondary, get more competitive in our division, and then start to take our big swings once we had our roster kind of figured out. So they went bold. Obviously, that press conference by the general manager, was pretty impressive, pretty entertaining. And that'll either be, kind of etched on his, Hall of Fame plaque for Travis Hunter, or this guy will be gone in 2 or 3 years because, trading away that first-round pick, as you mentioned, if it ends up in the top 5, that's going to be people are going to remember that.
Last question. You look at the AFC South, and we'll have you back on as training camp approaches. But as it stands right now, Texans, Jaguars, Colts, Titans, how would you assess the 4 teams in the division here in late April?
The Texans and the Jaguars are the 2 best teams in the division. And the Colts have the quarterback question. They've got talent on their roster. I don't like their defensive line enough or defense in general to say that they're going to compete with the Texans. If the Jaguars can get what they believe out of Travis Hunter and Brian Thomas, continues to be this dominant number 1 wide receiver, and the offensive line gets better with some run balance, they're going to be competing in the division. So, I dislike the fact that they got aggressive early, but it's no denying they got a really interesting, good player.
Chad Forbes at NFL Draft Bites on social media. Jaguar fans, he'll mix it up with you on social media. Chad, I know you've gotten kind of the brunt of the Jaguar Twitter wrath, but that's nothing new for you, is it not?
Well, you can't check your mentions, especially when you mention something negative about Duval.
Chad Forbes at NFL Draft Bites. Chad, you're a good sport. Appreciate you joining us as always, pal. We'll do it again soon.
Sounds great.
There you go. Chad Forbes with us here on Hacker After Dark. Do I agree with what he said? No. I have no problem with the Travis Hunter trade. And Chad's looking at it about the first-round pick in 2026. And I think anybody that's negative about the Jaguars pick or the trade just brings up that pick next year. And it's going to go one of 2 ways, guys. I mean, the Jaguars are going to be awful in 2025, and that pick's going to be in the top 10 or, dare I say, the top 5. And at that point, it's going to look really, really bad next year. But if the Jaguars are good and either they win the division or at worst they're competing for a wild card spot and that first-round pick is in the high teens or low to mid-20s, then I think the Jaguars won this draft. I told you guys last night, anywhere from pick like 1 to 12 next year, if Cleveland gets 1 to 12 that was supposed to go to Jacksonville, the Browns probably win the trade. Picks 13 through 18, maybe you can say it's a wash. Anything higher than 19 or in the 20s, I think the Jaguars win the trade. Cleveland's banking on the fact that Jacksonville is horrible. And, I know that's what the Browns media is saying because I've gone on a couple of stations in Cleveland. They're talking about, well, you're as bad as we are. And you know what? They're actually wrong. We're worse than Cleveland is over the last dozen plus years. So they're always watching Jacksonville picking in the top 10 year after year after year, and that's what the media up there is expecting. That's what the fans are up there expecting. If Jacksonville does have a turnaround and that pick is not but in the high teens or low 20s, I can tell you the Cleveland folks are going to be very upset about this trade. So we'll see what happens. It'll be fascinating. I'll tell you this. I'm much happier Travis Hunter is a Jaguar than if Travis Hunter was not a Jaguar, if that makes sense. So from that standpoint, I can't fault the trade because I'm pretty happy at how it ultimately landed. More Jaguar talk. John Ledard of the Audibles and Analytics podcast, also the Read Optional podcast. He joins us coming up in the 9 o'clock hour. In case you missed it earlier this week, we did go to the state of West Virginia as well. Wyatt Milum, who probably is the second most liked draft pick the Jaguars made behind Travis Hunter. Wyatt, of course, the big offensive lineman from West Virginia. We caught up with his high school coach earlier in the week, Coach Brad Dingis, who coached Wyatt all 4 years of his high school career. So we'll get a little more insight on Wyatt Milum, the Jaguar third-round pick out of West Virginia, also coming up in the 9 o'clock hour. And I did want to spend a little bit of time on both the Devin Lloyd story and the Jordan Travis story. If you missed it earlier today, former Florida State quarterback Jordan Travis, who had that devastating knee injury that ended his college career in Tallahassee, retired from the NFL. Never could fully recover from that knee injury. Just an absolute shame. I want to spend some time on Jordan Travis as well. We're at halftime on Hacker After Dark. 1 hour down, 1 hour to go. We'll take you up till 10 o'clock, as we do every night, right here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
This is Daniel Murphy on my hometown station here in Jacksonville, 1010XL, 92.5 FM.
Join us at Miller Electric May 29th from 4 to 7 p.m. We're on the lookout for talented people, from entry-level to experienced electricians and foremen, security system installation and service technicians, fire alarm system service technicians, and both senior and junior VDV technicians. This is your chance to get hired on the spot. Meet the managers, indulge in delicious food, and snag some awesome giveaways. Don't miss out on this electrifying chance to power up your career. Miller Electric, May 29th, 4 to 7 p.m., 6805 South Point Parkway.
Looking for a fun-filled evening that the whole family can enjoy? Discover the thrill of indoor football, a fast-paced, action-filled sport where excitement meets family fun. Check out your hometown Sharks on Saturday, May 3rd at 7 p.m. Ask about our family 4-packs, 4 tickets, 4 $10 vouchers, and a $20 Owl's Pizza gift card, all for only $100. For tickets, go to jacksharks.com or call 904-621-0700. Go Sharks!
Prosser here. The Sharks look to get back in winning form this Saturday while you enjoy a fun-filled evening. Ask about our family 4-packs, 4 tickets, 4 $10 vouchers, and a $20 Owl's Pizza gift card, all for only $100. Discover the thrill of indoor football, fast-paced, action-filled, family fun, and check out our hometown Sharks. Saturday, May 3rd, kickoff 7 o'clock at the ViStar Memorial Arena. For tickets and the family 4-pack information, go to jacksharks.com or call 904-621-0700. That's 621-0700. Go Sharks!
These days, it feels like everyone is talking about how the American dream of homeownership has become out of reach for so many of us. Well, Rocket is trying to give us more of a chance to own our homes. They're making homeownership simpler and more accessible to more people, turning renters into owners. Rocket believes that every one of us deserves a shot at the American dream. So, are you ready? Own the dream. Visit rocket.com. That's rocket.com.
WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Attention business owners and property managers. Hurricane season is right around the corner. Is your property ready? Call the pros at Duck Rooter for expert storm drain cleaning and hydrojetting. Our powerful VACCON truck clears the way so your drains flow freely when the rain hits. Call 904-862-6769 today to schedule your service and protect your property before the storms start rolling in. Duck Rooter, your trusted name in storm drain maintenance. Visit us at duckduckrooter.com. We are a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
It's May, and that means it's Founders Month here at Sonny's Barbecue. Every Wednesday, we're celebrating with $7 pork big deal served with a sidekick and a drink, or one of our pork and rib combos for just $11. It's our way of saying thanks for letting us be your local pitmasters. So stop in for great deals on the Q you crave. Founders Month specials at Sonny's Barbecue. Local pitmasters since '68.
Okay, sports fans, Hicken here. Let's talk skin. I and Beaches Dermatology are reminding you all to wear your sunscreen. Spring is here, and that means more time outside. Grabbing the clubs for your tea time? Bring the screen. Heading out on the boat? Bring the screen. Headed to the beach? Definitely bring the sunscreen. All in all, make sure sunscreen is included in your outdoor activities. If you have any concerns now, give Beaches Dermatology a call. I've been seeing them for years, and my skin thanks me for it. Call today online at beachesdermatology.com.
I'm with Greg from Cycles of Jacksonville. You're on-road, you're off-road, now you're on the water. Greg, tell everybody what Coach and Honda is offering in the form of boats.
We've got the Honda boat, which is a great runabout fisherman. We've got the Coach boats. They're fantastic for getting out with a family. Nice lay-down beds, all with that legendary Honda motor on.
Check them all out. They're waiting for you. You can see how you can be on the water with Honda or with Coach pontoon boats. Cycles of Jacksonville on Atlantic near Regency.
Hey, Hicken here. Tired of glasses or contacts? Discover customized vision solutions at Bowden Associates. Dr. Bowden's team offers cutting-edge options like Evo implantable Collamer lenses or refractive lens exchange and classic LASIK, designed to fit your life. Picture perfect vision for reading, driving, or just enjoying the day. It's easier than you think. Call now for your free screening. Bowden Associates, they're keeping the First Coast focused.
Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you.
Instant Keys saves the day if you have lost or broken keys. They can program new keys and remotes for nearly every make and model of vehicle at a fraction of the dealership cost. Fast, honest, and reliable locksmith service. Call 722-1111.
Instant Keys. Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you.
Has someone you care about been arrested or had their driver's license taken away? I'm Susan Cohen, and I work with David Robbins at the law firm of Epstein & Robbins. We are experienced fighters for those charged with DUI, domestic violence, and all criminal offenses. In your battle with the justice system, there's only one thing you need to know. Dial David 24/7 at Epstein & Robbins, 354-5645. 354-5645.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Checkmate Coatings phone line. Hello. Your floor's missing piece.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville, your home for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and we are glad you are with us. The NFL Draft in the rearview mirror. Of course, Travis Hunter, the big story coming to Jacksonville. Maybe behind Travis is Wyatt Milam, the big offensive lineman from West Virginia. The Jaguars took him in round number 3. There were a lot of people that are pretty excited about Wyatt Milam coming to Jacksonville. Let's find out about the big West Virginia offensive lineman from a man that coached him during his high school career. Head coach Brad Dingis of Spring Valley High School there in the state of West Virginia, kind enough to join us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Coach, how you doing?
Pretty good. How are you doing?
Coach, we're good. Thank you for the time, and take us back to Friday when you see your guy, Wyatt Milam, getting drafted by the Jacksonville Jaguars. Your emotions as his former high school coach.
That's something that you don't really expect, especially from our state. I mean, we normally don't have those type of kids that come in. And but you could tell he was pretty special at a younger age, and just sitting there with him in his living room, he's a very humble kid. He didn't have all the hoopla that some of the other people had. He just had his closest people there, but just a smile on his face and just to see the reaction, it just kind of brought a full circle that a kid dreams about his whole life, and it was pretty awesome.
To that point, I mean, you obviously had Wyatt when he was, 14, 15, 16. I mean, you knew him and had him from a very young age. When did you know on the football field that this kid was something special?
You could really tell. I mean, his freshman year, he was more built like a tight end. He had some length, but he didn't have a whole lot of weight to him yet. But really that jump between the sophomore and junior year, he started, seeing the rewards of the weight room and just how he was dominating people. And it just looked like he was just a man amongst boys. We knew that not only was he going to be a Power 5 guy, but, somebody that was really going to excel at that level.
Brad Dingis was the head coach of Wyatt Milam there in the state of West Virginia during Wyatt's high school career, and Brad joins us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. One of the best sound bites, and I'm paraphrasing here, but if you were at the house on Friday night, you probably have seen it already, when Wyatt was talking to the Jacksonville media here and basically said, I'm paraphrasing, but he essentially said that he's not going to allow anybody to touch Trevor Lawrence. I mean, you want to talk about what you want to hear from a fan base, from an offensive lineman. Wyatt's already earned a lot of fans just by that statement alone. Coach, he seems like a kid that really takes pride in protecting his quarterback.
Yeah, he will do whatever he can to get the job done. That's what has made him great through the years coming up. He takes pride in his craft. He will work his tail end off. He's a very blue-collar guy that just shows up to work every day. And he will die trying to do what he tells you he's going to do. And, if you look at his track record and all that, I don't think he gave up a sack after his true freshman year in college. So, and he went up against some dudes. I mean, there was, you look at the schedule WU played, there's a lot of guys that he blocked that kept off the quarterback there in Morgantown that are playing in the league right now. So, yeah, like he said, he's going to do what he's supposed to do.
You look at some of the scouting reports about Wyatt from some of the draft analysts and the pre-draft. You see words like powerful, tough, physical. I even saw the word nasty in there a couple of times. Just, again, what you like to see from an offensive lineman. How would you describe his game?
I know when he played for me, we didn't have a whole lot of skill kids. We weren't spreading it out much. We were a wing T type football team that played in there tight, and we were a gap scheme program that there was a lot of blocking down. And I've not had a kid since him get I don't even know if this is a real call or not, but he got a couple excessive blockings where he would take the guy. He played right tackle for me, but he would have taken him all the way across the field and pancaked him.
That sounds like the movie The Blind Side with Michael Oher. Didn't they have one of those in that movie?
Yes, it was similar to that several times. So, he was, state lineman of the year, all that stuff with us. But he's just a dominant player. And the best thing about him is he's probably a better human being. You're not going to find more of a humble type kid than him. And, he's great in the locker room, a great leader. You have something special when your best player is your best practice player, and that's what he was.
As his head coach, when he got excessive blocking, I guess it's hard to be mad at the kid, right?
Yeah, it was, you just kind of shrug your shoulders, and, you don't want to tell him not to do that. So, we'll take the penalty and move on, but you look back at it now and you laugh about it. I was probably mad when it happened, but not at him. But you don't see too many of those.
Final moments with Brad Dingis, the high school head football coach of Wyatt Milam, who the Jaguars spent a third-round pick on in this past weekend's NFL draft. Coach, the talk here in Jacksonville is potentially guard, potentially left guard for Wyatt. He played primarily tackle at West Virginia. Do you think he has the skills to move inside and play offensive guard?
Yeah, I do. I honestly think he could play anywhere on the line of scrimmage. And, the left side's a little bit more natural to him. He's left-handed. So I see no issues with him moving down. I think he'll be great at it. He's a war daddy. He's going to go after it, and you could give him any job, and he will do it to the best of his capability at all times. So he's going to I have no worries about him wherever they decide to put him.
Coach, as we begin to wrap up, you alluded to this a little earlier. We know the type of player that we're getting here in Jacksonville. What about the person, the community? What is the city of Jacksonville getting with Wyatt Milam?
Just a great community guy. He's going to put himself out there and be involved. He's great with kids, any kind of projects. Here he was loved by us and our community. I mean, you ought to see all the signs and stuff on the businesses and restaurants in our little town here. But if you go back and you could search him up at Morgantown, where he was at WVU, he was involved in a lot of things, community projects. He was always out. He was the face of that program the last couple of years, him and Zach Frazier. So he's going to be very involved, and the community's going to see a lot of him.
Coach, final question. The town there, when you get a young man from that town drafted into the National Football League, you mentioned the signs and everybody. I mean, that had to be some feeling on Friday night, not only for Wyatt and his family and friends, but really for that entire community.
Yeah, this is Wyatt is the first young man ever drafted in the NFL draft from our county here. So it was very exciting. He was a celebrity anyway. Probably run for mayor with no issues. But everybody's just excited for him. I mean, he's such a great kid. Comes from a great family that's very well thought of in the community, and just an outstanding human being. And it's just great for our community, our program, our school, and the state of West Virginia.
Brad Dingis was the high school head football coach of Wyatt Milam there at Spring Valley in the state of West Virginia. Coach, thank you so much for the time. Appreciate you. We'll say hello to Wyatt when we get to meet him later this week.
All righty. Thank you. I appreciate you.
Bringing the weekend to the weekday.
Work on three.
1010 XL.
It's Work Zone Awareness Week, Florida. Every year, lives are lost in work zones because of speeding and distractions. When you see orange cones, remember, slow down, follow the signs, and stay focused. Workers are counting on you to get home safely, and so are their families. Let's work together to prevent crashes and save lives. A safety reminder from the Florida Department of Transportation. Slow your roll. Safety's the goal.
Bueller.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Jason, I don't see how a new air conditioner is going to work out for me.
Well, you like air conditioning, right?
Oh, yeah, totally. But a new air conditioner could be expensive.
Well, not if you...
to save up the money, I probably have to give up my extra hot skim latte every morning. Now I fall asleep during a staff meeting, get volunteered for the summer picnic committee, and end up sitting in the dunk tank all afternoon getting water up my nose.
Okay, look at it this way. Put on these sunglasses.
Whoa.
Bueller Air and Plumbing puts in a new AC. We hook you up with affordable financing, and you stay cool and comfortable for just $149 a month. Cool?
Cool. I see it now.
Life can be hard on your budget. If you suffer through the heat because of a broken AC you could totally afford to replace, you could visit.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
Hacker here, taking you back exactly 1 year this week. I was only 9 weeks into Awaken 180 and had already dropped 54 pounds. Seriously, that's like shedding a first grader in just over 2 months. That's wild, right? Fast forward to today, 2 months into my maintenance, and I'm still down over 115 pounds. Not a pound put back on. It's like Awaken 180 gave my weight a permanent eviction notice. Now listen up. We all want to have goals, but sometimes they seem to be far-fetched. This one won't be. dropping 40 pounds by the 4th with Awaken 180. It's doable when you have a proven program with an excellent coach by your side. Weekly weight loss, enjoying the ride, and reaching your goal. We all did it. No reason you can't. Set your goal, make the call, and reach 40 by the 4th with the solution for weight loss. Online at awaken180weightloss.com or call 844-346-1800.
Mia here. You know, people typically start and end their day by visiting their closet. So shouldn't that space feel calm, organized, like a little moment of luxury? That's why I chose Closets by Design. They specialize in custom solutions for every lifestyle and budget. Call them this week to schedule your free in-home consultation and get 40% off plus another 15% off and free installation. Don't wait for mom to do it. Call now at 1-800-293-3744 or visit closetsbydesign.com.
Give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. Teach a man to fish. And he's listening to the Nimnicht Outdoor Show.
With tips and stories.
Presented by Duck Rooter Plumbing, Septic and Air Conditioning.
Every Saturday morning, 7 to 10.
On 1010XL.
Frank Frangie here for Stanley Pools. If you're dreaming of putting in a pool this year, choosing the right company is the most important decision you'll make. I've trusted Stanley Pools to build my pool, renovate my pool, and maintain my pool. Stanley Pools has been the best in the business since 1988, and they're still family-owned. Call them today at 904-269-7277 or find them online at stanleypoolsfl.com. That's Stanley Pools, a family tradition of fine swimming pools.
At Cannons of Jacksonville, they know that when you're towing anything, you gotta have products you can rely on. With over 50 years of fabrication expertise, the family at Cannons can repair or install precisely what you need to tow with confidence. Whether it's a heavy-duty hitch, trailer frame, gooseneck, tow bar, or any other towing accessory, Cannons will provide you with unmatched precision and durability. For all your towing needs, visit cannonsofjacks.com, where quality and customer satisfaction collide.
You waited forever for your new fence. Then, strangers show up. Subcontractors rushing the job. Sent by the company you trusted. Frustrating, right? Superior Fence and Rail promises better. Their professionally trained builders deliver quality you can trust. No subcontractors, no shortcuts. Just the superior craftsmanship your home deserves.
When you're on the fence, about a fence, superiorfenceandrail.com.
Hey everybody, Jennifer Marion with Randy Marion Cadillac in Jacksonville here to say hello, and we'd sure like to have your business.
You know what? They're going to love the king of price.
My dad believes in making great deals and having a great selection in stock.
Cadillac XT4s, XT5s, and XT6s, and Escalades.
The all-electric Cadillac Lyriq.
CT4s and CT5s.
Cadillac luxury and selection is just waiting for you.
At Randy Marion Cadillac, Southside Boulevard, Jacksonville.
And don't forget, tell them Jennifer sent ya.
Spring has sprung, and so have the bugs. It's Hayes Carline and my friends at Kingfish Pest Control offer an exclusive $99 spring special. That's right, your initial pest control service is just $99. And if you call today, they'll include a free one-time mosquito treatment. Kingfish Pest Control is family-owned, 5-star rated with no binding contracts and 100% satisfaction guarantee. Call them now to book your service. Only at Kingfish Pest Control, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Yes, it is. Glad you're with us. 1010XL, 92.5 FM in about 15 minutes, a little under 15 minutes. John Ledard, the Read Optional podcast, also the Audibles and Analytics podcast. John's been covering the NFL and the NFL draft for years. We'll talk Travis Hunter. We'll talk the Jaguars. We'll also look around the rest of the NFL, who had some of the better draft classes, who had some of the more head-scratching decisions last weekend. We'll do that with John Ledard coming up here in less than 15 minutes. I will tell you the Houston Rockets season will continue. They're down 3-1 in the series to Golden State, but they are destroying the Warriors tonight. 105-76 late in the third. Later on tonight, the Lakers look to keep their season alive against Minnesota in Game 5. T-Wolves lead that series 3-1. The Battle of Florida and the National Hockey League, the Panthers and the Lightning Panthers looking to eliminate Tampa Bay tonight. Panthers lead the series 3-1. They lead Game 5 4-3 at the second intermission. Quickly, the Jordan Travis news sucks today. Jordan Travis, who was a fantastic quarterback at Florida State, had just that horrific knee injury, second to last regular season game. What was that, in 2023? Just awful. A Joe Theismann-esque injury. It was terrible. And that was the end of his football career, as I don't believe he ever played another game. He certainly didn't at Florida State. Now, he was drafted by the New York Jets, and he tried as hard as he possibly could to come back, but he announces earlier today that he is going to retire from the National Football League. I love everything about football, but when you see an injury like that costing a young man his career, it just absolutely sucks. Jordan Travis, look, I get it. Gator fans, you don't like Florida State. Miami fans, you don't like Florida State. But when you actually get to talk to these guys and meet these guys, like I'm fortunate enough to do, Jordan Travis is just a fantastic human being. He's just a good dude, man. And when that injury happened, it was just awful. I felt so terrible for him. I've had the chance to talk with him on a number of occasions. I am a Jordan Travis fan, will continue to be a Jordan Travis fan, and I was pretty upset when the news came out today that he's being basically forced to retire because of that injury. Hopefully he can go on to be a coach or do whatever he wants to do, because the game of football is better when a guy like Jordan Travis is around. So certainly hope the best for him in whatever he decides to do with his future. Another situation in the National Football League that came about here locally was the Devin Lloyd news earlier today. Jeremy Fowler of ESPN reported that the Jaguars will not pick up the fifth-year option on Devin Lloyd. Not unexpected. Once they picked that up for Trayvon Walker, they did not pick it up for Devin Lloyd about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. You thought at that point maybe Devin Lloyd and that option will not be picked up. What does that mean? Well, it's going to go one of two ways. Devin Lloyd is going to use that as motivation. He's now going to be a free agent after this season, so it is a contract year for Devin Lloyd, and he'll go on to have a good year. Or there'll be some animosity, some bitterness, and who knows how it ends up. I think it's going to be the former. I like Devin Lloyd. I just don't think he's been used properly. Hopefully Anthony Campanile and this new defensive staff can get maybe what they got out of Quay Walker in Green Bay out of Devin Lloyd. Quay Walker was thought to be maybe a disappointment in Green Bay. Had his best year last year with Campanile. Hopefully a similar situation can happen with Devin Lloyd. I hope it doesn't go the way of Andre Sisco. Remember, we thought last year Sisco in a contract year would have a great year. He had a terrible year and is now with the New York Jets. I hope that doesn't happen with Devin Lloyd. I don't expect it to. I still think Lloyd is a good football player, and I expect Lloyd to have a good 2025 as he now heads into unrestricted free agency, barring a franchise tag or anything, of course, in March of 2026. Let's talk more about the Jacksonville Jaguars, the draft, and let's begin to look around the National Football League, from Shedeur Sanders to all the other big storylines that came out of Green Bay. John Ledard of the Read Optional Podcast, also the Audibles and Analytics Substack. John does a terrific job covering the NFL Draft, and he joins me next on a Wednesday night here in Jacksonville, Florida. We're glad you're with us. Hacker After Dark till 10 o'clock on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM.
Making the ride home a little more enjoyable.
You keep the crew happy and you can't go wrong, eh, Frank?
Well, that's the idea, sir.
The Frangie Show.
Oh, that's good. That's good fun.
Afternoons on 1010XL.
I'm here with Danny Van Sickle, Director of the Electrical Training Alliance. Danny, tell me about your program.
Hey, Rick, we're a 4-year electrical apprenticeship. Our students start out making over $40,000 a year, and right now make over $90,000 a year, including benefits. There is no tuition or student debt. You just have to apply and get accepted.
Did you say no tuition and no student debt?
You heard that right, Rick. Once you're accepted to the program, your only cost for the books and the course fees. About $800 a year.
That sounds like an amazing opportunity. How can I learn more?
Just go to etajax.org, and you can apply there.
Apply by May 15th.
Plumbing problems? AC not blowing? Septic tank doing whatever septic tanks do? Don't call 3 different companies and play contractor roulette. Just call Duck Duck Rooter. We handle plumbing, septic, and air conditioning all under one roof. That's one call, one company, and one bill that won't give you a heart attack. For fast, reliable, and slightly ducky service, call 904-862-6769 or waddle over to duckduckrooter.com. When you're stuck, call the Duck.
Looking for a fun-filled evening that the whole family can enjoy? Discover the thrill of indoor football, a fast-paced, action-filled sport where excitement meets family fun. Check out your hometown Sharks on Saturday, May 3rd at 7 p.m. Ask about our family 4-packs, 4 tickets, 4 $10 vouchers, and a $20 Owl's Pizza gift card, all for only $100. For tickets, go to jacksharks.com or call 904-621-0700. Go Sharks!
Prosser here. The Sharks look to get back in winning form this Saturday while you enjoy a fun-filled evening. Ask about our family 4-packs, 4 tickets, 4 $10 vouchers, and a $20 Owl's Pizza gift card, all for only $100. Discover the thrill of indoor football, fast-paced, action-filled, family fun, and check out our hometown Sharks. Saturday, May 3rd, kickoff, 7 o'clock at the ViStar Memorial Arena. For tickets and the family 4-pack information, go to jacksharks.com or call 904-621-0700. That's 621-0700. Go Sharks!
Here's your 1010XL community calendar of local events and nonprofit groups helping people here at home.
If you'd like to help support domestic violence victims, you can get involved in the Par for a Purpose golf tournament, hosted by Micah's Place at the Golf Club of Amelia Island on June 20th. Register and learn more at micahsplace.org/golf.
The Tom Coughlin J Fund helps families battling childhood cancer, and there are ways you can help. Go to tcjfund.org.
If you're a dog lover who wants to help animals, our furry friends need exercise and time out of their kennels. You can make a difference in a dog's life at volunteer@jackshumane.org.
Military veterans have always protected us, and in Jacksonville, thousands of our veterans suffer from mental wounds like PTSD. Now it's time to return the favor. Learn how you can help at woundedwarriorproject.org.
You can find out how to share your community event at 1010XL.com.
Don't miss the Bari Breakdown with Dr. George Bari on XL Primetime, Wednesdays around 3:20 for the latest in sports injuries. From all the big names in the game, who's MIA, who's coming back from injury. Dr. George Bari on XL Primetime, Wednesdays at 3:20.
Hi, I'm Karen, owner of Clay Solar Installation Partners, your local women-owned solar company. At Clay Solar, we're more than just panels and power. We're about people. We make the switch to clean energy simple, stress-free, and built to last. If you've had a bad experience with solar in the past, we can help. We specialize in dependable solutions and top-notch customer service, so you can finally enjoy the savings and sustainability you deserve. Schedule your free consultation at claysolar.com.
Hey, Hicken here, or just call me Dreamfinders Danny. For a limited time to ring in the new year, Dreamfinders Homes is offering an amazing 4.99% fixed interest rate. Now's your chance to lock down that rate and get in the game. You heard me right. It's 4.99 fixed interest rate on select move-in ready homes. Visit dreamfindershomes.com for sales event information and get in the game. Interest rate available on select move-in ready homes. Restrictions and limitations apply. Go to dreamfindershomes.com for more details.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Now the cool down with Donovan Air, Electric and Plumbing, keeping Jack's cool since '87.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. The Jacksonville Jaguars added 9 draft picks this past weekend at the NFL Draft. Of course, the headliner, Travis Hunter, the Heisman Trophy winner from Colorado, was selected number 2 overall after Jacksonville traded up with the Cleveland Browns. Let's talk about Travis Hunter. Let's look at the rest of the Jaguar draft as well. We'll see how they fared, and let's do that with John Ledard. John Ledard does a terrific job covering the NFL Draft. He's with the Read Optional podcast. We'll tell you all about where you can find his work, and John's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. John, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks so much for having me.
All right, you and I spoke a couple of times in the pre-draft, John, and I think during those conversations we didn't spend 1 second on Travis Hunter because there was no reason to talk about Travis Hunter. Jacksonville wasn't going to be able to get him at number 5, and James Gladstone and Liam Cohen obviously had other thoughts, and they make that trade with Cleveland on Thursday night. John, twofold. Number one, your thoughts on the trade, and then obviously your thoughts on how Travis Hunter will fit here in Jacksonville.
Well, I think it was worth being aggressive. I'm not normally a big trade-up guy, especially when it's not for a franchise quarterback, but this is a pretty special player, and so I'm all for being aggressive in this situation. I think he was the best player in the draft, and then I would say maybe Abdul Carter, if the injuries don't persist, could be the other player in this draft. It's like a true difference maker. Obviously, if Ward hits, he'd fall into that category, but Hunter's the only guy, like the guy I felt like easily most confident about being that player. So sounds like it's going to be mostly in the offensive side of the ball for them, at least to start, which is awesome, because that honestly, if you're just looking at it from a value standpoint, it's hard to make the argument that corner is more valuable than wide receiver just because the amount you can control, right? How much that player gets the ball, how many opportunities they have to change the game. At corner, you can only control that to a certain degree. So I just think there's a lot of value for him to be had at wideout, and I'm glad they're going to use him in that way, even though I know they could probably use him at both positions, and maybe they will. I'm sure he's going to get some opportunity at cornerback to be involved. But starting him at one position, I know he said, I think I can do it all. I get it. But of course he's going to say that during the pre-draft process. That's part of enhancing your value, right, is to represent both positions. And in the NFL, I think that's going to be a real challenge. But I do think that he will be able to play some snaps at corner easier than he will maybe some snaps at wide receiver. So it's going to be fascinating. He's probably one of the most interesting rookies we've ever seen in the NFL. I'm thrilled and excited to be able to watch him. But it was really good to get him in a place like Jacksonville where you've already got some pieces in place so you can kind of afford the trade up, because you're not one of these teams. It's like, oh, what if we have to draft a franchise quarterback next year? Like, that's not how you're thinking or approaching this season. So for them, it just made a lot of sense to make this move.
The idea of Brian Thomas Jr. on one side, Travis Hunter on the other, has fans here in Jacksonville salivating. John, I'm curious. You've covered the league for a while, man. I mean, your thoughts on 34-year-old James Gladstone, who's been on the job for basically 2 months here in Jacksonville, a little over, and 39-year-old Liam Cohen, the head coach, who's been here for basically 3 months, and them pulling off a deal like this, their first time at bat with the Jacksonville Jaguar organization, man. Pretty wild.
Yeah, pretty crazy. And I mean, I don't know, Cohen's, I'm sure, involved in the evaluation process, but the actual negotiation and trade stuff and all that stuff, I mean, you got to give credit to Gladstone, because it's really impressive. Now, did they dominate the negotiation aspect of this trade? You see more of this probably in the NBA than you do in the NFL. I don't think they dominated the negotiation aspect, but these things are also, more set in stone in the NFL. There's some room for, especially if you get players involved, for critiquing that. But normally it's like, we have charts, the value's this, and that's what it is. And so it's a little more cut and dry in the NFL. But I don't think they dominate the value part. Like, they gave up, a healthy amount, I think. But, you do it for this type of player. And so for Gladstone to just look at the class and say, we need a difference maker, we need a cultural resetter, that's what this guy is. Now, he can come in right away and be the guy for us on offense or defense or both eventually, at least from a vocality perspective. He's going to bring all the right things to our organization, which I agree with them on all of that stuff. So, it's easy for me to say because I agree with his evaluation. Obviously, it's a risky move in some ways because of what you give up. But, yeah, I think you give him a lot of credit, and he learned in a great organization, and you're going to continue to see it. I think more and more teams are going to be pulling from, every offseason. What do we see? The Bucs organization, the Rams organization, this year the Lions organization. Those are the cream of the crop organizations, other than Philly, which Howie does, pretty much everything there. In terms of the way things are run, and when you don't have Pat Mahomes, those are kind of the organizations that are becoming more and more like the ones that people look at, and the ones they say, look at what they've done, compound rosters and draft and moving around and all that stuff without having that one massive star. And so I think that teams are going to continue to look at that and continue to try and follow their models and the way that they do a lot of things in order to find success. And Jacksonville's experiencing some of that so far.
You can check out John Ledard, the Read Optional podcast, also the Audibles and Analytics pod. He's with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Final thought on Travis Hunter and that thought before we start moving to other draft picks, John, because the Jaguars did have 8 additional picks. The Jaguars did pick up 2 third-rounders in 2026. Now, not having a first-rounder next year is obviously going to be tough, and we'll see how the Jaguars do in 2025. That's going to be a big portion of this trade. But the fact that Gladstone still has 4 day 2 picks in 2026, I thought was really good that he was able to pull that off with Detroit in this past weekend's draft.
Yeah, again, these are the things that you can do when you have the franchise quarterback. Now, obviously, Lawrence needs to prove himself. We understand all that, but it's almost a separate conversation because with the contract and the commitment they've made, he's going to have a runway of probably a couple of years here to be able to prove that he wouldn't be or would be the guy for the next era of the Jaguars. So, because on paper at least they don't need that guy, it gives you a lot of flexibility with how you manage the draft. And so I think that being able to find who can be the other difference makers at key positions. And, I have questions about their tackles, I think, but they feel confident in Walker Little and his ability to play at a high level. That deal is very reasonable that they gave him, I think. We saw that after Dan Moore got the bank thrown at him in free agency, so that ended up being a completely fine deal. So they've kind of managed things to the point where, we feel like we took care of the interior offensive line a little bit. We got a more competent group in here. And so that group, I think, is not without question, but they've certainly done some things on paper to help it. And then I think, it allows you to have a lot of flexibility next year to say, okay, what do we need? Probably, from the outside, you're looking at it and saying perhaps it'll be defensive help at that point in time. You're hoping that the offensive pieces are there. But, it's going to be a little bit of a question mark until we see the product, prove it on paper. But having day 2 picks for next year's class, I don't know what it'll look like yet, but certainly really valuable to have 4 of those.
John, outside of Travis Hunter, of the 8 additional picks the Jaguars had, did anybody or any picks, plural, stand out to you that James Gladstone was able to do?
Well, I think that by Schultz-Tootin, that's just an interesting pickup because we've seen sort of people are going to compare him to Bucky Irving. I think he's a pretty different player, but he's got burst too, and Bucky had a little bit of that. I think Tootin's got better long speed as well. I don't know if he'll be able to handle the mental part of the game as quickly as Bucky was, but certainly you can see that this is a guy. He's kind of a runway back, which people don't usually call smaller backs that, but like he kind of needs. He's not going to like be weaving in and out of traffic maybe necessarily, but because Cohen has done such a good job of creating runways, he's a really interesting pick to me because I think there could be some splash play potential, because he's faster than Bucky, and we saw how many splash plays Bucky had last year. Now, Bucky's a great tackle breaker, too. I think Tootin is just okay in that regard. So I'm not saying it'll be a one-to-one comparison, but just comparing and contrasting the two because I know in Jacksonville they're kind of already doing that. Hopefully listeners appreciate hearing a little bit of the comparison between the two players. But I think with Tootin, you'd be excited about the upside there perhaps. And, they took linebackers in the range they should be taken in. This is not a great linebacker class, so they waited until day 3 to take them. I'm totally fine with that. I think Milam is an interesting player because if he can develop and he can fix the pad level some, I think that there's potential for him to be like a low-end starter type in this draft. At 89, look, the Dolphins traded up for Jonah Sav like in the early second round. That was like the last guy out on my board that I was like, yeah, this guy's like the one I'd be really interested in the offensive line. So I think Milam has maybe a little bit more upside than some of the other guys in the offensive line that were taken after the top 40, basically, because it was such a shallow offensive line class. So perhaps he'll hit. And then I'm really interested in Ransaw. I didn't get to scout him a ton before the draft. I know he has some fans. They talked about maybe seeing him as a safety. That's interesting to me. They've obviously there's all this conversation about how many nickels they have in Jacksonville, and it looks like Ransaw won't be as much a part of that equation as it will be maybe on the back end. So that will be another development type. So lots of development needed with almost all these guys since it went down the board after Hunter. But they're in a position to be able to do that because they feel like a lot of the players that they have in place already are going to contribute this season. And then after this season, I think there'll be a big evaluation of a lot of the players in the roster. And if they aren't successful, you'll see some turnover.
Final moments with John Ledard. John, back in January when they fired Doug Peterson, we didn't realize at that point how much this roster was going to turn over. but it has turned over massively. I mean, massively. You take free agency and the draft alone, that's 19 new guys. Not to mention, actually, check that. That's more now because they just signed Emmanuel Ogbah from Miami. So you're talking 20 new guys alone there. Not to mention if any of the undrafted free agents make it, they only re-signed one of their own guys that was a free agent last year. I mean, in your thought process when it comes to the Jaguar offseason, John, are they better now than they were on January 6th when the season ended?
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt that they're better now. I mean, even if you look, I think obviously the draft, I mean, when you add the best player in the draft, I mean, you have to look at that. Now, you can ask yourself whether it matters in wins and losses. But the biggest addition is the coaching staff. I mean, you and I talked after Liam Cohen was hired. I think he's a top 5 offensive mind in the NFL. Now, that's based off a 1-year sample size. So, there's always the who gets solved fastest part of longevity in the NFL that matters so much. So he's still got a lot to prove. But I would say just based off last year, I've very rarely been more impressed with an offensive mind than I've been impressed with Liam Cohen. We talked about the soft skills a couple months ago. That part might need to develop for him. There's leadership aspects that I don't think he's shown or been in position to maybe show. He's got to trust and work well with others. Will that happen? I think, real nice guy on the surface. So hopefully that happens behind the scenes as well. But I think there's a lot of faith that could be better. And then, I think they just got better. I mean, Hainsey and Macari are probably average starters, but, isn't that an improvement? I think that there's a very clear path to seeing that be an improvement, especially if the group can gel together. Coaching is going to matter here a lot for this offensive line group. So still questions up front, which is where I probably, would when I'm doing the evaluation, will they, win the division, that kind of stuff. That'll be my biggest concern with them is how good is the offensive line? Is there an average ceiling on all these guys, or can anybody kind of play above that? And defensively, I think that they'll be much improved this year. I don't think the players fit the scheme at all last year. I actually don't know much about Campanelli, if that's how you say his last name, but I'm hoping that there's just some logic about how the players are utilized within the system that makes sense. And you certainly have way more versatility in the secondary now going into this year. So I'm pretty excited about what they could be. I think quietly there were players that are better than the public kind of sees. Trayvon Walker is one of those players. Devin Lloyd is one of those players. I think people talk about him like he's a bust that don't watch the Jaguars. And I thought last year with what he could do, I thought he showed great progress, especially when you look around the league and watch how hard that position is to play. So there's just a lot of reason for me to believe that they're going to actually be better long-term moving forward than they are currently, I think. And this season could be the start of that.
My one thought about Campanile is that his name is not Ryan Nielsen. So that in and of itself might be an improvement because Ryan Nielsen struggled here in a major way last season. John Ledard. John, you're on many platforms, hosting many podcasts. Tell the good folks here in Jacksonville where they can find your work.
Yeah, my Substack's Audibles and Analytics. You can subscribe there for like $5 a month or $50 for the year. You get tons of NFL content. You get Steelers Bucks content because I've covered those teams in the past. But you get twice a week NFL podcast for the true football junkies type of scheme and in-depth analysis and all that kind of stuff with Ollie Connolly and myself. We do the Read Optional podcast on there at least twice a week in season and then at least twice a week out of season as well, going through free agency. The draft, if people are interested, we broke down every position group in the draft over the past couple months. There's like 4 hours of content on some of these position groups in this draft. So if people are interested in going back and hearing us gush about Travis Hunter in the wide receivers podcast or gush about him in the cornerbacks podcast, they can go back on Audibles and Analytics and listen to either of those podcasts.
John, I know how busy you are, man. Thank you for taking time out for us here in Jacksonville. We certainly appreciate it, and we'll talk again soon, pal.
Absolutely, brother. Always a pleasure.
And thank you to John Ledard of the Audibles and Analytics Substack, also the Read Optional podcast, for joining us tonight here on Hacker After Dark. John's done a terrific job covering the NFL and the NFL draft for years, and really appreciate his time both before the draft and tonight reviewing the draft, talking about Travis Hunter and really branching out into the other guys, whether it's Caleb Ransaw, whether it's Wyatt Milam, on down to both Tootin and Allen, the running backs, Jack Kaiser, roster. I mean, there was 9 draft picks in total that we covered with John Ledard, and certainly appreciate his time tonight. We talked a lot of Jacksonville Jaguars, not only the draft, but the news coming out earlier today. Jeremy Fowler of ESPN reporting that the Jaguars, and I think we knew this, but it's interesting to see it out there officially now, I guess, that Devin Lloyd's 5th-year option will not be picked up. So it appears that Devin Lloyd will be scheduled to hit free agency following the 2025 season. And that could go one of two ways, right? It could motivate Devin Lloyd to have a ridiculously good year because it is a contract year, or because it's a new regime, a regime that didn't draft him. Will there be any, negativity from Devin Lloyd and his camp about his 5th-year option not being picked up? Knowing Devin Lloyd, I think he's going to use it as motivation, and I expect him to come out and have a great year in 2025. And that's the hope, right? And we talked about this when they hired Anthony Campanile. Look, when Campanile went to Green Bay last year to be the linebackers coach, there was a thought that Quay Walker and Edge Cooper up there were disappointments early on in their career. Campanile in 1 year really did good things with both Walker and Cooper up in Green Bay. Hopefully Campanile can do that again with Devin Lloyd here in Jacksonville in 2025. That is certainly the hope when it comes to Devin Lloyd and that Jaguar defense at the linebacker position. Well, that will just about do it, man. It has been a very, very busy Wednesday night edition of Hacker After Dark. We certainly appreciate you guys hanging out with us here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM. We have a ton of people to thank. Again, John Ledard, Audibles and Analytics, and the Read Optional Podcast for joining us tonight. Thank you to Chad Forbes at NFL Draft Bites on social media. Chad is never one to be afraid to mix it up a little bit. Look, we've had a lot of people on this week that really liked the Travis Hunter trade, that really liked what the Jaguars did in the draft. Chad Forbes did not like what the Jaguars did in the draft. Thought the Travis Hunter trade was a massive overpay to get rid of your first-round pick in 2026. All opinions welcome. I personally disagree with Chad, but I appreciate his opinion and always appreciate Chad coming on with me here on Hacker After Dark. And if you do want a differing opinion, go back and listen to the Chad Forbes interview, and you decide if it was a good trade for Jacksonville or if you side more with Chad that it was a bad trade for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And then back in hour number 1, we had the head coach, Dave Campo, with us. It's always Monday night coaching with Campo during the season. Here on Hacker After Dark, we get the head coach periodically in the offseason, and we really enjoyed reviewing the NFL draft, the Jaguar draft class, with the head coach, Dave Campo. Now, we will be back tomorrow night on a Thursday, and we will do it all over again beginning at 8 o'clock. Dylan